Hi, Mark here for Safety Options and Personal Defense. Today I'd like to talk about how to clean your gun after you're done using it. Um, Before I get started here, I just want to mention there are a lot of different ways of cleaning a gun depending on who you talk to. I'm sure they're going to say their method's the best. I'm not. I'm going to just say that it's one of many and I find it to be effective. I think there are a lot of different methods that are going to yield the same results, which is basically taking a gun that's dirty from powder residue and fouling in the barrel from the bullets going through, the metal fouling with lead or copper, getting it off your gun, getting it lubricated and putting a protectant on it, and then you're good to go again the next time you shoot it. So as long as you can accomplish those things, it's going to be an effective method. And like I said, it depends on who you talk to, which one's best. Um, so the next thing I want to do is go over just the things that you're going to need in order to properly clean your gun. The first thing is some sort of cleaning product or cleaning system. I like the Slip 2000. That's Slip 2000. You can check that out on the website. I do have a link for it. But again, what a system contains or basically has is going to be some sort of solvent, which is going to break down those powders and the metal residue, or the metal fouling, I should say, and some sort of oil or lubricant protectant. Okay, so there's basically two different types of chemicals you're going to be using. Now, these chemicals, depending on the products, these ones happen to be non-toxic. They're relatively new in the marketplace. Some of you who may have been taught how to clean a gun, or maybe have a father or grandfather or whatever that always used a method, may have one of the older toxic solvents. It's okay to use them. It's just you have to use a little extra caution. Okay, but I like the non-toxic ones. Like I said, I don't work for Slip 2000. I just know that this has worked well for me, and so that's what I use. Now, the other thing you're going to need is a cleaning rod of some sort. Now, I happen to have two. These tops, which one of them is a brush that's appropriate for the caliber. Here I'm going to be cleaning a 9mm, so I have a 9mm brush. It also works in 38s, and a jag. And here I have a brass jag, and what this jag does is go ahead and push patches through the barrel. This is going to scrub out any metal fouling. Um, you can only have one cleaning rod and take these on and off. I just happen to have two, so just I don't have to take it on and off. I like using a pipe cleaner to kind of get some tight places. Some sort of brush. This one happens to be nylon. You can use a brass brush. I would stay away from using any type of steel brushes because that's going to scratch up the finish or scratch up your gun. But anything that's nylon or made of brass brush or copper brush or something like that, that's going to be good. And you're going to need some patches. Okay. With that in mind, those are really all the things. Oh, as well as a rag to wipe things off with. Okay. So those are the main components that you're going to use to clean. Okay. The other thing I suggest you have is a set of glasses here. Again, even though I have something that's non-toxic, again, it's probably going to cause some damage to my eyes if someone happened to splash into it. So make sure you always wear some sort of safety glasses, which I'm going to put on, and as well as some rubber gloves. Now, again, I mentioned non-toxic. I said that several times now, but in my mind, if I have a solvent that's breaking down chemicals that might be damaging, like lead or something like that, I don't want that going into my skin. So, I suggest you always wear some rubber gloves to protect your hands, from that type of thing going through your skin, as well as, it's just these things aren't, even though they're non-toxic, they're not good to get on your skin. And the other thing you're going to need is going to be a firearm that's dirty, and mine happens to be dirty as well. Now, depending on the state of your firearm, if you're just at the range plinking and you unloaded before you came home, your gun may look like this, or the flat side may be forward. It may look like this. Either way, we're going to have to take this gun and make sure that it is unloaded. Okay, so before I get started here, I'm going to go ahead and put on the safety goggles, or my safety glasses. And again, I just want to also mention that when you're dealing with safely cleaning a gun, I mean, how many times have we heard the story of somebody shooting themselves while they are cleaning their gun? Well, the main thing is you have to keep in mind is that the four universal rules, and I always like to go back to those. If you abide by them, the four universal rules, which is treat every gun as if it's loaded, Never point it at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot and your sights are on the target. And lastly, always be sure your target and your backstop. Okay? As long as you follow those or not violate those, nothing or anything is, nothing or nobody's going to be shot, okay, by accident. There's the, reason that some people get shot by cleaning their guns are negligent to one or more of those rules. I want to point out here that, for the first one here, or the second rule was, again, never point it at anything you're not willing to destroy. I'm in my basement. I have a wall, a cinder block wall in front of me, and behind it is just an endless amount of dirt. All right, so if the gun would happen to go off, as long as it's pointing in that direction, it's not going to harm myself, it's not going to harm anybody else, it's not going to destroy anything I don't want destroyed. So, again, keep that in mind. Do it in an area, where you can always apply those 4 safety rules. I wouldn't recommend your dining room table or kitchen table, for a lot of reasons in terms of hygiene, but also just as a matter of safety, where's that gun pointing? We just heard a story here locally where a police officer shot himself in the hand, and the bullet went down through his hand and through a table, and luckily went into a leg of a table before it struck the leg of another officer. Okay, so there's all kind of, certainly not treating it as if it's loaded, and again, gun not pointing in a safe direction or pointing at something they're not willing to destroy, like his hand. Well, obviously, again, negligent of the rules. So make sure, that those, you're always aware of those, that they apply. That's why they're called universal. They apply all the time, everywhere. Now, so as I get started here, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure our gun is unloaded. And depending upon the state of it, as I said, if you just came from the range, your gun may look like this. And again, this one is unloaded. I've already verified, but I'm going to go through the process anyway. You may pull it out of your bag and the slide's going to be forward. Okay, so what you should do, again, there's no magazine in here. I just got done at the range. I unloaded, but I still want to check. Again, gun pointing in a safe direction, always pointing in that safe direction. I'm going to lock the slide back. I'm going to look inside, and yes, sure enough, it's unloaded. Okay. The other state that the gun can be in, let's just suppose for a second here again that this was your carry gun and you were doing some practice and you loaded up before you left the range with your carry ammo, and you're coming back now and your gun is loaded. Okay, so I'm going to insert the magazine. All right. Well, if that's the case, again, you have to, remember how to properly unload the gun. Okay, so how does that go? Well, again, we were over that in the other video, but the first thing you want to do, again, is take out the magazine. That's the source of the ammunition. Every time this slide goes back, another round's going to be pumped in if there's ammo in it. There's no ammo in this particular magazine, but I'm going to take out the magazine. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to again go through and I'm going to rack this slide and make sure I eject any ammo that might be in the chamber. Okay, so if I were carrying, let's say there was one in the chamber, I'm going to again eject that round. There's none in there. I'm going to look again and verify that the chamber's empty. Again, all the while my finger's off the trigger and it's pointing in a safe direction. Okay, at that wall like I mentioned earlier. All right. So again, if you unload your gun like that at your cleaning table or wherever it is, here I have an old workbench down in the basement, again, very safe to do. Okay, notice no time that my hand went in front of that barrel for any reason. All right, so now I'm going to disassemble the gun. Again, Glocks are, always the one that get blamed. Okay, and it's not the Glock that should be blamed. It's the tool's working just as it should. When you pull the trigger, it's going to go off if there's a round in the chamber, and that's what you want, a reliable handgun. But, a lot of handguns like this one, this Springfield as well, just like a Glock, I'm going to have to pull the trigger in order to disassemble it. Now, there are other pistols out there that's not necessary. Smith & Wesson has a little lever that you push in theirs. The new Ruger American pistol just slides off, no need to pull the trigger. Again, and I can't go over every single type of gun, but what I want you to do or keep in mind is always have your manual handy and make sure you know how your gun works and know how to take it apart. Okay, safely do it, but again, always following these guidelines of first safely unloading your gun. Okay, so again, as I've already verified, this gun's unloaded. Now I need to go ahead and break it down into the parts in order to get it clean. Okay, there are 4 main parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up my takedown lever, which is located on the side. Again, Glocks have little tabs you pull down and whatever. But Once I do that, I'm going to release the slide. Okay, the slide comes forward, and now I have to release that striker in order to take the slide off the front. So again, gun pointing in the safe direction. Okay, I've already verified there's no ammo in there. I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger. Okay, that releases it, and boom, the slide comes off the front. Here's one of your main components, which again is going to be the frame. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this recoil assembly. Okay, it's just a spring like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and take out the barrel, okay, out of the slide. That's the third main component, and then lastly I have the slide. Basically, all modern pistols are going to break down into those four parts. Okay, you're going to have your spring assembly, like I said, frame, barrel, and slide. Okay, now before I get started with the solvent, like I said, I want to go ahead and put my gloves on, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and again, that's just to protect my hands. I already have my safety glasses on, so if something were to happen to spray or splash up, okay, and hit my face, that's going to be okay. All right, wouldn't want it to happen, but it'd be okay. But the main thing is, again, it's not going to go in my eyes. All right, now, as I mentioned before, the main goal is to get all the fouling, the carbon fouling from the powder burning out of or off the metal, as well as the metal fouling that occurs when a bullet travels down the barrel. So the first thing I like to do, again, is get some solvent on one of these patches, and I'm going to run it down the barrel just to let it kind of soak. All right, I'm not going to really scrub it out at this point. I'm just going to get it wet with the solvent. I'm going to push that down there. You can see that there's some dark residue on there from leftover powder. And then I'm going to flip the patch over again just one more time. This is pretty wet. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run it down there again. And I'm going to set the barrel aside. Okay, I like to do that before I start scrubbing it, just so that it gives it a little bit of time to loosen up some particles. Some people like to do that, some don't. And typically this patch, since it still has some solvent on it, what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to start wiping off the recoil spring assembly. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that. That'll take off some again, powder that might be on there. I'm going to go down through the frame here. Okay, again, I'm going to wipe down all the metal parts. Again, all these solvents are safe to use on polymer plastic, so that's not going to affect it. And typically the powder doesn't stick to that. But anything that's metal is going to get wiped over with this patch with the solvent on it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, some people like to use a rag instead of that. That's fine. You do whatever you want. I'm just saying this patch isn't that dirty yet, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe down the metal. It's getting to the point where it's pretty dirty, so I'm going to go ahead and discard that in the garbage. And then I'm going to get another one here and wipe it down with solvent, and or wet it with solvent, I should say. Okay, and I'm going to start working on this frame. Now, I want to get down and basically get the the whole slide. Where the firing pin is, up inside the slide rails. I'm just going to get in there and I'm going to rub real good. And typically doesn't get that dirty, particularly I know this product, this lubricant actually helps cut down on the stickiness, so to speak, of the carbon, and it wipes off a lot easier with this solvent. Again, this solvent is water-based, it's not petroleum-based. So you got to be careful that you do put a lubricant on back, because it's functioning as a degreaser and it's taking off any oils off the metal. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I got that all clean. If I did have some tough spots here, I'd use this pipe cleaner. I'd get a little solvent on that. This gun's not that dirty, so it's not necessary right now. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab my trash can, and I'm just going to take this brush and I'm going to go down through the back of the barrel, okay, through the chamber with the breech end, and I'm just going to kind of run it back and forth in here. You can see that the brush comes out. I'm holding it down in the trash can, so if anything comes flying out, like little metal particles and so forth, they're just going right in the trash can here as I'm pushed out, and that would do the trick. Okay, set my brush aside. Then I'm going to start and basically go through with clean patches and or rags. I'm just going to take all the metal that had the solvent and I want to get it off. So I'm going to run the clean patch through here several times, okay, through that barrel. I'm going to take another clean patch. I'm going to run it through, okay, and make sure that I get all of that solvent out of the barrel with a clean, dry patch. Okay, so hopefully what I've done is I've gone through and I've taken all of that filing, pushed it out, I broke it down with the solvent, pushed it out, and now I want to wipe all that solvent off the gun. Another thing to keep in mind here, this feeding ramp, you'll see it'll get kind of fouled up there with carbon. This one's pretty shiny right now. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I'm going to use those patches again to wipe any solvent that may have dripped out. I'm going to go through my slide, and now I'm going to start using this, and I'm just going to use a patch today. Like I said, if you want to use a rag, that's more power to you. I can use a clean, dry pipe cleaner as well to get through all this stuff. But I'm really going to go through on those rails, bend the patch, get in all those little crevices, get in there and just get that solvent out. And you'll notice this patch is still getting kind of dark here, which means that I'm removing all that carbon fouling. The same thing is going to be true with the spring assembly over here. Just want to give that a real quick wipe. Typically these don't get too bad, okay? And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wipe down the frame part. Okay, again, anywhere I wipe with solvent, I'm going to wipe with a clean, dry patch. And again, all that does is take and remove that stuff from the metal parts and get your gun nice and clean. Okay, so as I've gone through and done that, again, you can see, doesn't take that long. Okay, I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, but it doesn't take that long to go ahead and run through that process. Now, before I reassemble my gun, I want to go ahead and make sure that I lubricate it properly. So what I like to do, again, is put a little bit of this lubricant, okay, right onto a patch, okay. I will take the barrel. I want to run it right down through the barrel just to get some oil on the barrel, okay. And you can store it like that with a lot of oil in it, okay. That's an option, but make sure you wipe that oil out before you shoot your gun again. If it happens to be your carry gun, or you don't want to wipe it out before you shoot it again, I'll run a dry patch down through there. There's still enough of the protectant in the metal, it starts to embed itself. So, you don't have to really worry, about there being too much in there, but you don't have to worry about there being none, because there's a little bit in there, like I said, that just kind of bonds to the metal, okay? As far as that oil patch, then what I'm going to start doing is just start rubbing it all over the barrel here just to protect it. Okay, so again, that gets in that metal. I'm going to run that oil patch, which isn't very dirty right now, over top of the spring assembly. That's going to get some oil and protectant on there as well. Okay, so I'll rub it all over there. I'll take that and run it down through the frame, or the slide, and I'll go ahead and do that. Now, this one's getting a little dried out and a little bit dirty, so I'm just going to go ahead and get another patch. Okay, so I'll get another clean one here. All right, put a little more oil on it. All right, and again, I'm just going to cover this down pretty good, best I can. All right, and again, what it's going to do is protect the gun as well as make it function the way that it should. Okay, so these guns are made to work, assuming they're lubricated properly. Doesn't take a lot. You don't want to just dump a whole bunch on there and have it slosh around. Some people think that that's the case, but very knowledgeable people have assured me that you're much better off by taking and just getting a rag or a patch like I'm doing and rubbing it on there. Okay, so I got an excess of oil. I'm not going to wipe any excess off my frame. Okay, I'm not going to wipe any excess off of the slide. The barrel, I may just get a little bit here on the outside, just wipe a little bit of that excess off, maybe with a rag here. Okay, because again, it has some on there. It's started to bond to the metal. Make sure I wipe that feed ramp off, okay, because the thing is, you don't want your ammunition getting oil on it, okay? So I basically got everything ready to go to put back together, all right? So usually at this stage of the game, you can wipe your gloves off, make sure there's none of that stuff on there, or you can, again, just leave them on. But all I really need to do is at this point, and start assembling my firearm again. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put the barrel in, okay? And again, you may have to consult your manual to make sure you're doing everything in the proper sequence. And I'm going to go ahead and put the spring assembly in. Okay, so I got 3 of the 4 parts together. I lowered my takedown lever just so I can get that one rail here in the front. I'm going to lift it back up. I have to in order to get this back on. Again, now I want to orient this gun so that it's pointing in a safe direction, because just you got to wire yourself to do that. And I'm going to lock my slide back. Okay, I'm going to push down the takedown lever. Okay, back to so it's functioning like it would when I wanted to fire it. I'm going to let the slide go back and forth here just to kind of work that oil in a little bit. Okay. I'm going to make my slide back here because I'm not ready to put this away yet. And again, I'm done. Okay, so I'm going to just leave my gun here unloaded on the bench, chamber up, magazine out as always. Take my gloves off, and obviously you don't want to reuse these. Pitch those in the trash can here. Glasses can come off now. I'm done with the solvent, and that's pretty much it. So I know that's a long video, okay, and you know, sometimes, you know, it pains you to sit down a long time to watch this, but I really feel it's important to go over the safety part of cleaning a gun, simply because we hear so often on the news, you know, so-and-so shot themselves, so-and-so shot themselves. Oh, what were they doing? Oh, I was cleaning my gun. I was cleaning my gun. And a lot of times people end up, again, their gun ends up going off, okay, and damaging some items in their household and going through walls, and by the grace of God, nobody gets hurt. But again, it's something you want to avoid, okay? So, you know, by following those procedures I just outlined here, I don't want to repeat them over and over again, but make sure that you're safely taking apart your gun, okay? That procedure, again, is make sure that it's unloaded properly, okay? And always, always, always pointing in a safe direction. You do that, you're going to have fun shooting all the time. And again, you want to keep your gun working properly, so in case if you need it for any sort of emergency or protection, it's going to function properly. So I hope that was helpful for you, or helpful to you. And you know, if you ever have to refer back to it, you have something to watch here to go back, and as a how-to type thing. And as always, be safe out there.